Man, Jeremiah got us in trouble again.
Always.
So if you didn't see, Jeremiah asked a question. What was your question?
All right. So originally I asked a question about if you had a budget as a Christian hip hop artist, you had $1 million budget, would you give a known producer like a third of your budget and then the rest you give to CHH producers, or would you just give all of that to your whole $1 million budget to different CHH producers? That was the original question.
So then Kristen Gray hopped in and was basically like, man, CHH is dead. I don't know why y'all still in this whole thing.
Oh,
It's low
is that where that started?
It's low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
It's over, whatever. So then Bats was like, man, I hate when y'all old heads. I'm paraphrasing, but it was like, I hate when y'all old heads, you know, just because y'all didn't make it, y'all were trying to ruin it for the rest of us.
He did.
And then Thizzle was mad at Kristen Gray, and then all kinds of people was fussing at him, and then he blocked everybody.
He blocked everybody.
Yeah.
That's that Killer Sauce.
He blocked Jeremiah too.
You got blocked?
I ain't get blocked. He unfollowed
I checked
me.
to see if I got
What
blocked.
did you? I
didn't get
nothing.
blocked.
I just had the question. Maybe I like stuff he didn't like.
I think that was probably him being like, all right, fine, I'm out. Y'all, that's how y'all treat me. That's fine.
Wait, he just left CHH because
seemed
of
like he just
Jeremiah?
did.
He kind of got.
You kicked Kristen Gray
I
out?
didn't kick
He's my
Kristen.
favorite artist.
Other people
Singing guy.
can't.
No, I think
He's my
what
favorite
happened,
singing guy.
Yeah,
I think we've kind of had like we've said goodbye to Kristen Gray in CHH a long time ago.
No, we did not.
I think we did.
We who?
Who was we?
I think when he went over.
Yeah, we. When did we decide that we getting rid of
I
Kristen
think
Gray?
when he went over
Gray?
to
For your soul? With
yeah, when he went with Kirk. There was no
He was
more.
supposed
Wait,
to
why
rap
we're
with Kurt.
going with Kurt? Stop us from loving
Because
Gray.
it's just like when somebody
Come
goes
back,
to
Gray.
a different
Come back,
situation
please.
that doesn't involve the circle of Christian hip hop. He's no longer in that circle. He can
Okay,
still be an artist,
so-
of course, doing Christian hip hop music, but it's like the budget changes, the whole.
Let's put
Nah,
it in
bro,
perspective.
he's
I'm kind of
CHH.
glad we're having this conversation. So the conversation really is, why would he think that? That's nobody has asked that question.
But that's the thing. That's what I was gonna say. I mean, I feel we had to be one of the first people to bring this up.
What if
We
he was
had this
joking?
topic years ago.
Yeah.
So
CHH
we
is dead. Yeah, we talked about that.
Talked about that back in like 2016.
Yeah.
Right. Like it was a long time ago. We did CHH is Dead 1. We did CHH.
It's like God's
2.
not dead.
Exactly. And then
Great movie. Go see it.
Dayton did an album about it. And it's like I feel like we've been talking about this forever. I think Kristen Gray's perspective is he tried. Like he went in, he got the big deal.
Yeah.
He was one of the best artists ever, and he tried. I think he.
But let's put it in perspective real quick. I'm sorry cutting you off, Sean. It's like you at a business, right? And you work at a business, and the bonus checks are like $2,000,
Okay.
right? And then a couple years later, the bonus checks are $500.
Okay.
And you're like, hey man, this industry is not moving like it used to be. And it's not like but other people in it though, in that same business, is eating. And they don't see that the bonus checks used to be $2,000. They like, we good, bro.
They happy with the 500.
We happy with the 500, or if we make 1,000 or whatever we make, we happy because we the top dogs now in this business. You get what I'm saying? Or we the big dogs, or we're making noise in this business. Whereas before, you may have been. Maybe we can get to that 2,000 check, but why you hating that we
Okay, but
at that part?
so again, we've talked about that for forever. So there's a couple other aspects I wanted to talk about. So one is the almost gang-like response to Kristen Gray, like, "What, you coming in our set talking all this junk?" So like it was real. It was a real strong.
Social media lynching.
It was a real strong reaction as a unit to Kristen Gray. So that was interesting. We need to talk about that. And then also Chopay had a video talking about why he doesn't do Christian hip hop anymore from a different angle. Basically saying that he thinks doing Christian hip hop is almost like taking advantage of people's faith in God for money. He said he was kind of turned off by how in the green rooms people talk about how their numbers are looking, how much merch they sold, and as soon as they're called to the stage, they switch to Jesus is awesome, Jesus is everything, and it becomes more like a formula to make a living than to really express
and live it.
You know,
Yeah.
this is not. It's not expressing your faith.
I didn't
or
know that
trying
about
to bring
Chopay.
people
I
in.
didn't know he dipped off. Wow.
I asked him to come on. He said he would come on. We're still talking about it, but
But wait a
I
minute.
thought that was interesting.
Is it wrong to highlight the business of Christian hip hop?
I
Like
think-
in Green was like, I mean, okay, I've often thought this. To be honest with you, I've often thought that if everybody really got a chance to know your favorite Christian hip hop artist, like on a off the camera level, right? Maybe everybody wouldn't be so in love with their character.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like I've often thought that. But at the end of the day, is it not okay to talk about the business of Christian hip hop or the business of being an artist, right? So that means talking about the numbers. That means talking about
That's
you know
real.
merch. That means talking about money, right? Is it wrong to talk about the business of Christian hip hop while also doing well as a on stage performer? Because I am performing at some point, right? Because I'm on stage, I'm
Yeah.
performing, but I'm being real and genuine in my relationship with Christ. What's wrong with that?
I think his trepidation was it seemed like it was all about that now. It was just about it's basically I'm doing this for the attention and for the money, and I know what to say on stage to get people to give me the attention and the money.
Yeah.
Not to try and save their soul or to bring them closer
So,
to God.
so
It's-
he's upset with the lack of he's thinking that the spirit is not genuine anymore. There is no genuine love for Christ. There is no
Hey, he was.
genuine.
I want him to talk for himself, but he was almost saying like it's not possible to do this, to do Christian hip hop and keep the ministry as a focal point when you need those people to give you money at the end of the day. It becomes a formula of saying the right things because you know what will get somebody to be like, yes, Lord. So you say it to get them to come to your merch table and buy your stuff.
So you're saying manipulation?
That's not true.
He's
It
saying
turns into
He
manipulation.
said
That's
Christian
not
hip hop-
because you almost have to because
Yeah.
your livelihood depends on it. Now
That's
now-
not true.
But full-time artists, like we've always for the most part been part-time
Yeah,
artists, right?
yeah.
So we have some other way to bring money in. But
Yeah.
the time I've been full-time, Ryan was full-time for a little while. It does change a little bit. It does put a little bit of pressure on. I've told that
Yeah.
story a lot where somebody asked me to come out and they were paying me like nothing, and I was like, I can't do that, and it makes you make decisions that you wouldn't have made. Full-time job, I could do that for you, no problem. Yeah, I want to come minister to people and do that, but I have to make different decisions when I need money to live.
There's
But-
nothing wrong with that. They
Yeah.
shouldn't be asking
Yeah.
you to perform for free every day anyway.
Right, but what I'm
Right?
saying is
Like-
I didn't like the fact that I had to change my answer based on the fact that I need money to live.
Nah, I think
It felt
that's
like a
okay.
different choice was being made versus when I.
That-
You
That's
know who
okay.
else who had a good one? Did y'all see Armand Wake Ups? Did y'all see his was really good too? He kind of broke down because he's a little close to that situation because he's like he knows Christian very well, Christian Gray. So I think that conversation he had on his, if you got a chance to check it out, go check his out because he talked about it from another perspective too. So, but I just think, man, at the end of the day, it's people that know the business. I think what people get mad in our culture is that they don't understand that, people are getting, like I talked about in the entertainment report, placements are happening, people are moving and shaking, but like I said, it's like at the same time, when you were part of that anomaly, gravity era of CHH, even I would say even a little bit of NF too. But when you're a part of that, when Lecrae was like, "Yo, who is this dude at number one and got the number one album in the country?"
If you missed that, you don't realize how far it's
exactly.
dropped. It's
And
totally different.
so if you were at that time more of a fan before just being an artist, you don't understand that was like, I ain't gonna say our peak, but at that time a peak that was like, wow, like this is popping.
How we dropping with all this placement, right? Like you can't turn on ESPN and not hear Christian hip hop. Like you can't turn on most of these things, like all these like events, like the Super Bowl, all these big time events. You're gonna hear Christian hip hop all the
here's
time.
The thing is,
Faces.
the difference is when in that time period, everybody knew it was Christian hip hop doing it.
Yeah.
People don't even, when those songs come on ESPN, people don't know who those people are.
Yeah.
That's fine, but we know.
But that's the difference. The difference is, people may be doing financially okay, but the environment isn't as vibrant as it was back in the 2010s.
Because you're
So-
just one of 10,000 people that knows that artist probably when you hear it on ESPN.
But everybody's gonna do it and check it out. Like what's my guy? The podcast. Golly, there's a podcast that always plays John. What's this guy's name? He's with. God, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name right now. There's a podcast that always plays this one song, Limitless. Y'all know what song? Limitless. Y'all know it? No.
Nope.
Jesus. All right, give me a second. I'll be back. And when I John Keith. Yes, John Keith.
Okay.
Right. So it's John Keith. That song is played all the time. And if you don't know these Christian hip hop artists, right? Let's say you're like, I don't know these Christian hip hop artists, and we don't know that it's Christian hip hop, but you go and check out the music, and then you get to know what the culture is. That's always been the way.
I think what he's saying is a difference between me. It's
a Pivot podcast. Thank y'all so much. It's Pivot podcast with John Keith.
It's a big difference between. It's a big difference between seeing Sean's song on ESPN, which is a good look, versus the #1 album in the country. You get what I'm saying? That's two different things. You have the #1 album in the country, that gives you automatic looks. Like, how this happened? I never heard of this dude. Why is he has the #1 hip hop album in the country?
How this happened? I never heard of this dude. You're on the Pivot podcast, and I hear you every time they play.
But maybe I'm not.
How this happened? I've never heard of this dude. I hear you. You go find out.
But how?
What do you mean how?
Well,
you just
that's
go
a
look
big
up the
question.
words and find out. Everybody
these
tries to find out.
These placements have been
matter.
awesome. But who actually goes and when you hear a song and look it up like that?
I do.
I don't.
A lot of people do. If you don't listen,
if it's interesting to me, I'll do.
Yeah, if
if
the
it's
song
not,
is
then
dope,
I'm like,
you go look it
How
up.
do you do it? You hold your phone up with
Shazam?
No, you try to figure out the word, right? You could do Shazam, that's true, but you can just listen to the word that's the most prevalent, and then you go and look it up. Like that Limitless thing, I was Limitless. How did I find it? Right? And when I found that it was John Keith, I was like, oh snap!
Okay.
I didn't know it was John Keith
You think
before.
a ton of people are doing that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Placement matters. Why do we care about placement? If placement don't matter,
People
then
care about
nobody.
placement because they get checks.
Nah,
Yeah,
you
it
care.
does give
You
you a nice
care about
check.
placement because you do get the checks, but you also get exposure, and exposure matters.
I think-
and exposure on big stages. That
But
stuff
here's
matters.
the difference. The only difference is I don't believe as many people do what you're talking about. But
That's not
what
true.
what it does do is it gives you.
That's not true.
And it goes back to my problem with this is it gives you clout points to brag about on social media.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
So you kind of have to push that. Oh, look what I just got. Look what
See?
I just got.
Yeah.
Look what I just
Look.
got.
But here's the thing.
Hold
Here's the danger about placements too, because you could get placed in a show, and if the show wilding out, you can't show your fans like, yo, I got
People
placed
still
on
do,
this.
though. People
Wait,
still do.
let's go to the data. Let's go to
Mike
the data.
Sarge got placement in All American, and we know that show can be a little bit,
Look,
up in there.
Prophet Josiah,
Homecoming.
Shazam is still a thing. Quote, Shazam, right? Somebody, I do. For the love of hip hop, I do. Quote, I do. Let me see.
Do a poll because I don't care if some people do it. I want to know.
Look, do the poll. Who does this, right? Do the poll. Let me see. Let's look at the data, and we can set an argument with the data.
We were in this since the 2000s, right? We've seen the valleys and the low. We've seen when we thought the truth was going to be that guy, right? Then we seen it when Lecrae was that guy, and still, based off Rapzilla, still that guy of the biggest hip hop artist, Christian hip hop artist. So we've seen the ups and downs of this. We're saying when Christian Grey, when Collision, when they did We Live as Kings, they were in that mist around the time Gravity and Anomaly, and between Church Clothes 1 and 2.
It was a different vibe.
It's a totally different vibe than what we're saying.
Coming in hot. Somebody just brought that up. And remember when the song "Coming in Hot" took over the whole nation?
That's because it
And
came
everybody
in
was
with-
using
Did it
it
go
on
number
TikTok.
one?
Everybody's using it on
Did
TikTok.
it go number one?
Say it again.
Did it go number one?
It went number one on TikTok. I don't know, but
but Coming
I'm
Hot-
just saying,
Coming
Coming
in
in
Hot
Hot was
did
that
well.
thing,
Yeah,
like, and
yeah,
everybody
I'm
knew
not
what it
saying
was.
that.
It got
I mean,
so what do you-
Kim Kardashian
Definitely.
used it.
Something
so that was
can't
a
be
good look.
dead if we keep like.
Will Smith
No.
It can't be-
We're not doing the CHS is dead thing.
I know you're saying it's as big.
What we're saying, no. We're just saying the vibe is totally different. There was a vibe in the mid 2010s that is different. People are still doing well, but it's not the same thing. So if you were there. You
I
saw
was
what was
there.
going on. Everything worked. Everything
Yeah.
popped. Everybody did well.
What do you mean by worked in
Visibility
did what?
wise, like there were actually like I
was-
can see numbers behind our
Here,
platform.
I'm gonna tell you what.
The numbers were totally different.
Let me tell
It
you
was
something.
Way more attention. on it.
CCM was looking at Christian rock like Christian rock is dead. Christian hip hop is in. We need to support Christian hip hop.
Yeah.
And after the Lecrae situation, they were like, we need to find something else. This hip hop thing ain't gonna work out.
What's the crazy situation?
It's
Bring it to the forefront.
Of course, his situation with his tweets for support of Michael Brown, of Black Lives Matter.
There was a big race
That
problem
thing
with this, yeah.
dipped the whole situation to the point where they were like CCM. Some people in CCM, I ain't gonna say all, but majority were like,
And
okay, this whole Christian rap thing is about
This
that.
is what
then no.
Jeremiah is hinting at. The success during the 2010s, which you cannot deny, it was different.
Yeah.
that was being propped up by mainstream Christian churches, media. It was being supported. When that support went away, then you got to see what was really going on.
Yeah.
And now we're in the aftermath of the support being pulled.
Yeah.
I know firsthand major leaders saying, I'm not supporting him anymore. We're not putting him in our Christian camps anymore. We're not going to be pumping him in our churches anymore. That financial and major distribution through churches went away. There's some churches that still support him, the Passions and the Louis Giglios and the Andes, they still support him. But there was tons of people that pulled the rug on his support. And that rug got pulled on all of us. Now, why we're not in the CHH is dead camp, we just brought up the topic because we saw numbers changing.
Yeah.
We believe something can happen again. God can breathe life on anything at any time, and it can look different.
Yeah.
What God has been doing in the meantime is the placements, is more artists doing well at the same time, and not just one guy being like at the top of a pyramid. It's been more of an even spread across everybody rising at the same time. So it's just different. That's all I'm saying.
So if CHH died, racism killed it.
Business wise,
racism had a
based
big
on your
part.
argument, right?
Yeah. I
Racism
would
killed
say
it
so.
if it died.
Race. If you don't want to say racism, race
has to
Race
be.
wars.
issues.
I would
Race
say it
wars.
had to be racism, right? Because there's one man
Well-
speaking out for his
well,
race,
no,
and that
because
caused all these problems.
It wasn't necessarily racism. It
was-
was the back and forth race tension.
It was race tension that caused it, because some people may not say it's racist. Their objection to him was based on their biblical worldview.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? They believed his biblical worldview was straying away from their biblical worldview. It just happened to be very, very split along racial lines.
Yeah.
That's what it was. So I would say yes, but not everybody would say racism was the reason.
Yeah.
But it was race tension that caused it. Definitely.
Yeah.
So so at the end of the day, going back to Christian Grey, I do think he had a valid point to say that. If I was in something where I seen, every week we like gone. Every week I'm in a youth ministry. Every week I'm doing something. It's on and popping. So you can't say, nah, this ain't that ain't it. But yeah, I don't know what y'all watching.
Yeah,
What
I
you?
saw that. Somebody said CHH dies daily. We all should. It does. So I think what if you are mad at Christian for what he said, I think Christian Grey is mad about a couple other things too. It's not just this.
Yeah.
But if you were mad at him because of what he said, just understand what's behind it. There's a lot of history behind what he's talking about. He's not wrong in his sentiment. So if you're a young artist, and there's some wisdom to be gained, I think, from what he said. There's old heads that have seen a lot over the years.
Yeah.
We've seen this thing ebb and flow over years. It could go the other way again. But at this moment, it's different. You may say it's not dead, but it is different.
Yeah.
So
Majority of the polls said that.
what I would say, just from I'm just an observer, right? There is a different vibe amongst the artists that needs to be addressed. It's a little bit concerning for me, the motivations, right? Because it did so well, a lot of artists jumped in to chase the fame and the success that was generated out of this.
Yeah.
And I'm just, if you're a young artist and you're coming up now, just be cautious that that's not why you're doing this. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's my biggest warning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just I really think certain people had good hearts of asking Christian Grey or like talking to him about it. Then some people were kind of rude, and I think that was
the people I cared about were his contemporaries, the Thizzles, the other people that were there the same time, who are basically saying, here's the real answer. So what if it is?
Yeah.
So what if it is? You gonna stop?
Yeah.
We gonna stop?
Yeah.
Like
That's real.
the whole point of this is make God famous.
Yeah.
So if it's not doing well right now, who cares?
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah.
If that causes you to leave, that's what goes back to what I'm worried about, is that how
Your
much
heart
of
wasn't
this,
in it,
once you
yeah.
go full time, once you jump all the way in, how much of this becomes a business and you lose sight of the ministry part of it. I don't want anybody to ever lose sight of it. We have to talk about it on our team sometimes. We talk about numbers and success and this and that. Every now and then I'm like, man, we getting too far away from the point. What's the point of this? Why are we doing this? Why are we coming in here? It's not to be famous. It's not to be rich. It was because we wanted to make God famous and make an impact in the media and entertainment space. Have an alternative for people who watch Joe Budden and The Breakfast Club, which didn't exist when we started, but still, you know what I mean, stuff like that is to say, here's the Christian worldview on that stuff. If you're a Christian and you're creative, here's how you can succeed as a Christian in mainstream without giving up on your faith. That's the point of why we're doing this. So if you ever see us stray away from that, that's what we have to always come back to. Why are you an artist? Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Don't forget, as the business gets hard, because there's going to be times where you don't have any money. There's going to be times when you're doing really, really well. Don't forget why.
Yeah.
Don't ever forget why.
That's real.
Can we get Gray back though? Because I feel like with him blocking everybody, is there anybody who can like reach out to him and get him back in the fold?
I mean, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. I mean, I'm not saying he's not a Christian artist no more. I mean, the stuff I've heard from his last project was a pretty good project, and he was flipping beats and doing his thing on it, and it sound a faith believer music. So I don't think it. I just think he's, like somebody said earlier, it's a lot of stuff for him. You get what I'm saying? It's a lot of stuff. What people don't know that he's dealt with record labels, with personal stuff, with, you know what I'm saying, how this once was. That's what I'm just saying.
So ease up is what I'm saying. Ease up.
Yeah.
Ease up. Talk to him. Don't talk at him.
Okay.
So that's my only warning. We clicked up real hard on old boy. Like,
yeah, he did. Like,
what you said? What? Just chill. Like
what's
that CHA symbol you thought?
it was
blood, son. Blood.
Yeah, you know it.
Yeah, it's blood.
So what I'm saying is,
Blood of Jesus.
he has a perspective that people need to hear. He's one of the best ever. We're talking legendary status. He's just some random CHH artist.
I remember
he's one of the best ever.
I listened to him just yesterday.
Remember when that rock movie? He was like one of the first "Stop Me." That song he had.
Yeah.
That was on.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Open Door was
trailer.
all over the place. Like he's a monster.
Leave
So
him alone.
School of Roses.
So let him talk. Reach out to him, show him love. He has something to say.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back into it. You in the field with the Trackstarz, Ryan Righteous, Sean Tanner, DJ Jeremiah. Let's go.